Hey guys, Greg from Tales from the Pythian. Hope you're doing good today. We're back to do episode 4 of our Curse of Strahd build series. So build meaning we are just building it in Foundry using some assets that are available by the community, either free or via Patreon, into a module that is ready to run. That includes fleshing it out and doing all the prep work and setting up the scenes and looking at modules and trying to find solutions to things. So let's just get into it, shall we? So we left off last week having looked at the gates of Barovia and the area called Dalvan's Corpse. We're going to clean that up just a little bit here shortly. But the first thing I want to do is look at our modules again. So the only thing that I have added was dig down right here, and the only reason that I added that without you guys is because once you add it, it has to run a cycle to index all of the files in your data folder, basically inside of Foundry, and that takes a little while. So I went ahead and just did that the other day and got it ran, and it's good to go. The other thing I wanted to look at in here was the File Picker Plus, and we're going to actually go to our settings here. So for our File Picker Plus, find it, here we go. I just changed my file picker size from the default to the massive because I wear glasses and it just makes my life easier. I also checked the box to get the image video previews, the audio previews, the 3D previews. Not that I'm going to be using 3D in here, but still. Yeah, so those are the settings that I set up with my file picker. And that is how we're going to roll. And this is what it looks like when it's large like this. So it looks a little bit different from the vanilla, right? And then dig down is what allows me to use the search, right? If I go to the root folder here, it's going to go hunt the word paper and find everything that has that in the file name and list it out for me, right? So that makes life much easier with that combination of modules. So it's dig down and file picker plus that work that magic. Adding modules this week. So we are going to add about 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. These are definitely utility modules that we might not necessarily use today, but as we're doing our prep, they're going to come in handy, and I'll explain them as we come across them. Okay. So I'm going to go to my inactive modules list, and we are going to add Bailey Wiki's mass edit, which I have talked about previously in other videos that I have done. When we use it, we'll talk about it a little bit more here. If you happen to be a Patreon of Bailey Wikis, it's super awesome to have this plugin, though we won't use it to its full potential in this build because we're using the Benios maps and they do such a fantastic job with those maps. The other thing we're going to use by Bailey Wiki is Nuts and Bolts. So Nuts and Bolts adds, and I believe Nuts and Bolts is a free module. Mass Edit's also a free module. But Nuts and Bolts adds a lot of macros that are very useful to the game that will help us out. And it's also going to pair with another module that we're going to use by Ripper93 called Macro Wheel. And there's actually a folder inside of Bailey Wiki's Nuts and Bolts that's built to sit in Macro Wheel and perform some actions. So we'll look at that today. As a matter of fact, we will be using it today. And then because we're probably going to have to be rolling on tables before too long, and it's just easier to do it, we're going to add dice tray. So if you're not familiar, it's going to add in our chat. If you look down here, we got nothing going on down below our chat, but this will add literally a tray of dice that we'll be able to use, and it'll make our life easier. Okay, then we're going to add the combo of image context and image hover. So image hover is pretty straightforward. When you cursor over a token, it will display the portrait art in one of the corners of your screen that you determine in your settings. Really great. I love it for my players. They're able to, it allows me to use that portrait art very effectively to kind of obviously convey what people look like, but I use a lot of interesting art, so I like it a lot. And then image context is going to just give us some functionality and some additional tools that we can use with images, like sending the image to the chat or sharing it with everybody without making a handout, or copying the path of that file to put it, you know, to put the path into another token, tile, item, whatever it might be. It's a very handy plugin. So moving on down, we'll go to macro wheel. So basically what macro wheel does is if you have a folder called macro wheel, which like I mentioned is going to be in that Bailiwiki nuts and bolts, the macro wheel plugin will access that on the depression of my middle mouse button, and it will pop up a wheel that has all my macros around the outside of it. And I'll demonstrate it once we get it installed. It's pretty handy when you're building. We're going to add select tool anywhere. This one is cool. So what this one does is, you see here on the tile layer, we have the select tool. On the token layer, we have a select tool. On the measurement controls, we do not. We do on the drawing tools. We do on the wall tools. We do not on the light tools. We do not on the sound tools. We do on the journal, so on and so forth. You get where I'm going with this, right? So what this is going to do is it's going to put that select option everywhere we don't have one as well, which just makes for moving, grabbing, copying, deleting, all those things much faster if you've got to do it. So it's just a very utility tool. And then finally, we're going to add tile sort. This one is also by Ripper. You're going to notice that we stacked some Ripper modules for sure. So tile sort basically is going to add a button right down here in our tile layer. And if I select it, it's going to pop a dialog box up on the left side. That's going to show me in list form all of the tiles that are being used in a scene, the order with which they're in, and allow me to find them and grab them, open them, manipulate them, all that sort of stuff without having to drag tiles out of the way that might be stacked on top of each other or layered over one another. You know how that can get. It can get a little funky. Okay, so that's what we're going to add. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, right? So let's go ahead and just save that. We'll let it load on in. All right, there we go. So the first thing that we're going to take care of, having brought those in, is we're going to get our macro wheel kind of set up and ready to rock and roll. So when that comes in, it comes in a compendium pack under the nuts and bolts. So it's like a Bailiwiki compendium, nuts and bolts, you know. So we'll go to our compendiums, Bailiwiki content, utility pieces, Bailiwiki nuts and bolts. So we open this up. Oh, that's items, Greg, not macros. Here we go. Macros, nuts and bolts. We open this up. Here's the macro wheel, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to come down here to where our macros are. Okay. And we're just going to drag macro wheel in, drop it. All right. And then I'm going to delete the free overlays because I don't need them. They're duplicate. Okay. So now I have a macro wheel folder. So let's check out how this functions, just so you know. So if we go over to the settings and we go down to macro wheel, using the middle mouse button to open the macro wheel, it's going to close on click anywhere we click anywhere. It's going to tooltip when we hover over a macro to let us know what it is. We can also tell it to show hotbar macros, which is these guys here, which I'm not going to do. Collapse the hotbar on startup, which I'm not going to do. And you can also use the root folder, so just this folder, macros directory, to put macros in there, which I'm also not going to do. I'm good with the folder button size, the macro button size, the hover delay, all that stuff. Totally, that all works for me. It's cool. So we'll close that, and then I'm just going to hit my middle mouse wheel so you can see what happens here. All right, so let's close all this stuff. There we go. So when I hit it, it displays these macros, and they're all in the macro wheels, right? They're all these folders. So we have TMFX overlay, overlay artificial, overlay biological, cold, damage, grunge, dust, nature, terrain, and then we have some drop shadows, some tint, that sort of thing. And again, this is all put together by Bailey Wiki, all these folders. Okay. Now the other thing that I do with this, just to make sure I have all of the tools that I need, is the token magic effects. You remember we installed that probably video 1, maybe video 2. But I'm going to go ahead and open the token magic portfolio here, and I'm going to bring it over and I'm going to drop it inside of my macro wheel. Okay, so now I have the portfolio, and then I'm going to do the same thing with their Book of Fire. I'm going to drop it in here. Okay, close it. And now when I hit that macro wheel, I'm going to have 2 additional, right? So for the Book of Fire, I'm going to right click on it, and it's going to open this little dialog, and I'm just going to go into my core data here, and I'm going to quickly just throw on the images as tiles here so I can see them. And I'm going to just find something that's a fire looking. Let's see. Fire looking right there. So there we go. So we have the Book of Fire, easily identifiable. And then for the token magic portfolio, I'll right click here and I'll just grab, I think this guy works good. Select file, update folder. There we go. All right. So now we have our token magic effects at the touch of a button. Everything is at the touch of the button, and we will use all of that stuff easy. So that's that set up. Macro wheel and the nuts and bolts is what we're going to use for the time being. Here's the select tool everywhere. So now you see it in the measurement controls, walls, lights, sounds, journal notes, right? You see it everywhere, and it's cool. So that rock and roll. And then if we jump over to our chat messages, here's now our dice tray. So we can tell it, you know, hey, I want to roll a d20 plus 2, add advantage, and roll, and it puts it in there, and there you go. It's going to roll it. And that works. So cool. And then let's take a look at maybe a token here. Let's look at Lingari. So let me drag him out. We'll drag him out. And there we go. Now, because of the image hover, when I put my cursor over him, you'll see in the bottom left now, I get the image that pops up. My players can see that most awesomely. And then the image context, when I right click in here on the image, I can show it, send it to chat, and copy URL. This theater of the mind is coming from another module that we're using, and that is one we'll talk about today, also called Simple Quest. But you know, I can just say, hey, show that to the players, right? And then it's going to show it to them. Or I can send it to the chat or whatever. Or what I use a lot is the copy URL, so that I can, you know, keep on putting images, like say in the token from the start again, from the portrait image to the token without having to remember things or go physically copy or anything like that. So pretty straightforward. So that's the image context, nuts and bolts, mass edit, dice tray, image hover, macro wheel, select tool everywhere, tile sort. So let's go ahead and go over to Gates Barovia. So we don't really have any tiles here, but let's drop some on. We're gonna add some in a minute, and then we can look at what tile sort does. Okay. So we're gonna tighten this up just a little bit. I felt like when I went back and read the description with the fire, I think we need the fire, so we're gonna put the fire in here, which will be tiles. But before we put the file in here, we're gonna look at a module we installed last week called Simple Quest. So I'm gonna hit J on my keyboard, and it's going to open it up. This is by Ripper93. It's very awesome. So we have a quest tab, lore tab, timeline, map, my journal, party journal. So timeline I use in the Curse of Strahd game that I run with my other players. I don't feel like they use it frequently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit J again and close this. We'll come into the game settings. We're going to go to Simple Quest. we're going to scroll down to the bottom, and we're going to disable the timeline. Not going to use it in this build. Okay, so now if I hit J, it's gone. And we have quest, lore, map. We have my journal, which is my personal journal I can type in. And then we have a party journal, which the players can type in. They will also see my journal, which will be each individual player's journal. So player A, B, C, and D all see my journal. And if they type in there, no other players see it. It's their private journal. Party journal is a aggregate journal that all party members can type into to keep a group notes, right? So how does this work? So it's pretty straightforward. So first of all, I'm just right here. I'm on welcome to simple quest, right? So really all you got to do is just edit this to get started, right? So I can come in here and call this, you know, Curse of Strahd. And then if we wanted to add a little flavor in there, we could take the introduction from the module and just copy that and paste it right here, right? And then we'll grab all of that text, we'll clear the formatting, and then we save it, and now we have the overview here. Okay, but we can continue to edit that, and we can call this one the Gates of Barovia, and then we can say escort Ligari to the gates of, I'll fix all the spelling in a moment, Barovia. I can't not look and type and still get it wrong. Escort Ligari to the gates of Barovia, right? This is the quest. And we can just say, all right, guard Ligari, and keep him safe until reaching the gates, right? And we can get rid of the second objective. We can get rid of all that, right? And then if I save it, you're going to see now this has changed, the gates of Barovia, and we have it. Now, if we check it, you're going to see that it notifies that there's been an update. It crosses it off the list as a quest, and it also gives a pop-up. Okay. So you basically, you can do that all the way down as you're completing the game, right? You can keep adding, so we can add anything that comes up with Durst Manor or the Death House, or anything that happens in the village of Barovia. So like Mad Mary, you know, getting the quest escort Irina, you know, all of it, the cakes, whatever. But that's how this works. Same principle with the lore tab. If you click on it, you have different templates that you can use, right? If I go in here to edit, you can see page template. If I select that, he's got predetermined settings for different types of lore, which is fantastic. That saves a lot of time. You'll notice here that it's pink, and all that means is that it's hidden. So if we cursor right beside of it, now it's going to be visible to the players. We click that again, now it's going to be invisible. And you can add lore, you can add more categories, you can change the name of the categories, you can delete categories, you can do whatever you want to in here. It's pretty sweet. Map, we can add a map, right? So if I come in here and say we call this the Valley of Barovia, and then we go search for a map. Cool thing here is we can go to the root. We're using that combo of dig down and file picker. I'm just going to type in map underscore, and because we have to have four characters using dig down, and down here is a map of Barovia, so I'll select that, then we'll save that entry. And now if we click on that, we have a map of Barovia that we can use, right? Or any map of Barovia. It doesn't have to be this one, obviously. It can be any number of maps that are available out there. And then the journals, you know, it's pretty pretty straightforward. You can just create it, add a page, edit. It's not seeming to be working here. That's weird. I'll have to check out why that might be and get back to you, but it works in my other game without any fuss. So but the journals will pop up over here. Maybe it's because there's no folder. I'll have to check into that. That's strange. I didn't have to set it. Was, I promise it was plug and play in my other adventure, and I did not look in here prior, so I'll figure that out. But anyway, that's Simple Quest, and that's how you would set it up. You can come into here and put points of interest, right? Like if I click on it, it pops this up, and I can call it Gates of Barovia. I can drop a journal in here, right? So here we have the journals. So let's just say that I don't know, let's say that we have Gates. Let's just drop that right there. We're gonna end up deleting it, and then an icon. So I went and I downloaded some free icons that were from Skyrim, you know, just so I had something that I could be consistent with, and I could put that there. And now when I cursor over it, you can see it says Gates of Barovia. If I click on that, whoops, if I click on it, it actually opens up that journal entry, right? Which is why we won't keep it in there, but that's kind of the idea. So that's how it works, and it's cool. So Simple Quest by the Ripper 93. I suggest you check it out. All right, cool. The GM screen. The GM screen. So we're gonna set this up real quick too. So we'll come into our settings. We're gonna go to the Game Master screen. Tabs config. I like to have 3 columns and 1 row. Okay, I'll just keep it main for right now. And now when I pull this up, you're gonna see that that's, you know, well, we got 4 columns and 1 row. But what I like to do here is say take things that I know I'm going to be using. So let's say that I know that we're going to be looking at the Gates of Barovia. I can drop that in there, and now I have that as a DM screen. I don't have to keep it up on the journal up on the main canvas. I can just have this here. You know, I can do everything I want to from here. I can copy the URL, I can show things, I can do whatever I want to. If I want Theater of the Mind, right, I can get it done with that GM screen. The other cool thing about it is you can also put your characters down here. So let's say I added another tab. Let's do it. Let's add that other tab. Configure the settings. We'll go in here. We're going to add one. We're going to call it PCs. And we'll do the same thing, 4 and 1, because we should have 4 players. Save the changes, go to the PCs tab, and now if I had players, I could drag them and I could drop them in here just like this, and I have my players at my fingertips to look at whatever I want to look at, right? Very, very handy. So that's how this will end up being set up. I'll have a tab for very specific things, like I will have probably travel times here, general rules of Barovia, spells that are altered, all that sort of stuff, just somewhere that I can access it real quick without having to go dig through the journals and all that sort of thing. So I feel like I have sped through the modules as quickly as I can, so I apologize if that was a little long, but we're going to, you know, try to make up some time now. So finishing touches here in the Gates of Barovia. What do I want to do? I want to put the campfire in. So first and foremost, I'm going to go to my tile layer. I'm going to come in here, just go to my root folder, and I'm going to do a little searching. I'm going to go campfire underscore. All right, so we're going to use this one. That's going to be a piece that we use. I think I forgot something. let's just go straight to our JB2A library. Generic fire. And let's get rid of this. And let's go to campfire. Then I believe it's this one. Campfire 3. Oh, orange. That's what I forgot. All right, so we're going to use that piece. And then we're going to go back to our root and we're going to just type in firewood. Right? And we'll just grab a pile of firewood. And this combination is now going to become our fire. Right? So that being said, all right, this is what we're going to use. And tile sort. So you see we added a new button right here, tile sort. We click that. Here's our list right here. Okay, so we see all the tiles on the board. Now let's get this stuff arranged. So I want to put the fire right here. I'm going to drop the size of that ring a little bit. So just using quick scale to do that. And now the white obviously is kind of off-putting, isn't it? So I'm just going to use the tint function to try to get a gray. Let's see, perfect, that works. All right, we can get the gray, and then let's select it and let's use a nature overlay maybe, and let's put a little moss on those rocks. See what it did? So we got some moss on those rocks now. Cool. All right, and then I'm going to make sure that I send this token all the way to the back. All right, now the wood we're just going to shrink in size. Plop it right down there. And then the fire, we're going to set it right on top. And we're going to take that wood, send that to the back. There we go. You can see a little fire, got a ring. Got the wood. We're going to bump the size of the fire just a smidge. Take it back into place. There we go. So now we've got the fire that we read in the description to the gates of Barovia as we're coming to it. And we have all of our Vistani set up. Good to go. I call this one done. I think we should have a sound in here for the campfire right here that we did last time. Here we go. Excellent. So now let's look at the battle map. So the battle map takes place the following day, right? So we just need to have a burned out campfire. So again, we're just going to go into our tile picker and we're going to call it campfire 03 underscore unlit. And we'll go back to our roots, and I believe that should give us a, yep, we got a Bailey Wiki one right here. So we'll just drag that and drop it on to the scene. Put it over here, about right here. And then we'll just drop the size of it down a little bit. We'll get a comparison of a token. Let's see, just drop a token right beside of it. And yeah, I could just bump it just a smidge. There we go. Sweet. And then they're gonna have some wolves that are gonna chase them through. Additionally, they're gonna have a dagger that they're gonna find, right? So let's go to the items and let's find a dagger. And it's just gonna be a regular old dagger, so let's just drag it out. We're gonna drop that pile right there. All right, now we're gonna deal with it. So we're going to double click it. We're going to go into our item pile and we're going to edit so that we can get in here and find ourselves an image. We're going to just type in dagger and go to the root and look here. Perfect. We can just grab a dagger. There it is. We can copy the URL so that we can go to the token and we can make the appearance the same on the token. We'll update it. We're good to go. Whoops. And we can close that out. Now you can see that's what's left. There's a dagger on the ground. And we do need to make sure that in the token that the identity is never displayed, right? We don't want that displayed. And then we're just gonna pick a place on the ground. Oh, what did I do there? I made a mistake. Copy that URL. See how handy this is? And I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna paste the URL. There we go. All right, then we'll close it. We'll update it. We'll leave. All right, so this is how this works now. This is why I love item piles. All their stuff's getting stripped from them, right? They're getting just robbed by the Vistani. All they're going to be able to find is a dagger. Well, I'm going to leave that dagger right here on the ground. Okay? If they see it, they see it. If they don't, they don't. Well, that's mean, right? No, it's not. If their cursor goes over it, it changes from an arrow to a pointer. And then because I'm using image hover, I'm giving them the confirmation with that image down on the bottom that that is actually an item that they can click on, right? And I tell everybody this at the beginning of the game so that they know. It really cuts out a lot on perception, passive perception checks. It's pretty fun. So anyway, here's the dagger that they'll find. Here's the burnt out fire. The wolves. Let's see. I think we just got them at the gates of Barovia right here. The wolf. So we'll do the prototype token appearance. Let's pop this open and go to our root. Go to our shared. Go to our... Oh, that was tiles, Greg. Tokens. And then forgotten adventures and creatures and beast. And then we will just type in wolf. And we're going to get our wolves. So we don't want the dire, we want the regular wolf. We're going to select that. I'm going to go to the end of the URL and I'm going to take it back to right after the word beast and throw an asterisk on there and then activate my wild card, update my token, close it, and then, you know, they're going to hear some wolf howls and you're going to see that what the wild card's doing is it's pulling a different image for each wolf that I pull onto the board, right? So we're going to throw 6 wolves out here because the whole idea is that they're not fighting the wolves. The wolves are driving them through the gates into Barovia where they'll be trapped, right? And so we'll just take these guys and we can, you know, we can scatter them about where they appear to be, you know, coming from the woods. Maybe on both sides, so it cuts off a route in the other direction, right? We'll do that. Get them moving. There we go. And that ought to put enough fear into them to get them moving. And then we're gonna take all these guys and we're just gonna hide them. Whoops. Wrong button. There we go. We're just gonna hide them. Muscle memory, guys. We still have some modules I'm used to having in. We still don't have some modules I'm used to having in here, so the buttons are a little off for me at the moment. So, all right. That is that. That is good to go. Let's go back up here. It's the inside. Let's go to our map. Regional map. And then let's check out Dalvan's corpse. Okay, so upon reflection, I wanted to make this a little bit more, I want to do a little bit more for it. So I also wanted to complete it. I got in a little bit of a hurry, guys. I got worried about time and the length of these videos. I'm trying not to make them super long, but I should probably not worry so much about that, right? Anyway. So, Dalvan's corpse. So I see a dead body. I think there should be flies there, and that's a really good opportunity to show some of the animations from the couple of the modules that we installed last week. Remember, we had to have the JB2A animation modules for some of the, I think it was Chris's pre-mades to work. but I also installed some other ones, and we're going to look at why right now. So I'm going to go back to the root folder. I'm going to go to the modules. Well, I could do it that way, or I could just type flies, right? So if I type in flies and I scroll to the bottom, I have this animation of flies. So let's just drag that out. You see it right here. So I'll put it over that body, and then I'm just going to reduce the size a little bit, just a smidge, so you can kind of see them flying around the body, but it doesn't look totally crazy, right? So there we go. For the scene, we've got that. And then for an ambient sound, let's see if we can do the same thing. So we'll make it because this is a scene, right? They're not going to approach, really. They're not going to be moving tokens around on here. So we'll just make it large. And we're going to come back in here and we're going to type the same thing, flies. Go to the list view, because what I'm looking for are these, the OGG files. Perfect. We're going to select it, and then I'm just going to drop the volume to a 4. Right, and then let's preview the sound. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Awesome. So that'll be the scene. And then we're going to rinse and repeat over here on the battle map, right? So in order to do that relatively easily, I think that we should just grab the sound. Oops, that's the lights. Let's grab that sound. Control C. Let's pop back over here. And I'm just going to Control V and paste that sound. I'm going to go into it, and I'm going to make the effect radius, say 10 feet, just to shrink it down, make it very centralized. And we're going to put it right on top of Dalvan's corpse. And then we'll head back over, go to the token layer, grab the flies, Control C to copy that, pop back over to the battle map, Control V to place it down, and we'll just center it up and probably shrink it down on this map just a smidge more. There we go. And now we have that kind of creepy, gross looking thing going on. All right, so now let's deal with our item pile. So we're going to go ahead, inside of this item pile we had the letter in the book, so we're going to go ahead and just delete this item pile, and let's fix our stuff. So in Dalvan's corpse we have a letter, and I want the letter to look like a crumbled envelope. So we go back to my root, and then I'm going to go to, I don't have to go any further, I suppose. Let's see, let's use, it's supposed to be in an envelope. So let's just use, these are all newspapers. Let's see, deeds. You know what, let's just do it like this. We'll just do this. So we're just going to select that letter. We're going to copy the URL, and then we're going to close it. So that's what it looks like. And then and these are items. I didn't need to copy the URL, but these are items, but you get the idea. Habit, a worn book. So we're going to come in here, and again, I'm just going to type book, and it's going to go find books for me. And then I'm going to find a book that I want to be, I feel like is a cool looking cover. And I like this one, I believe, for the Fanes of Barovia, right? A worn book. Right, remember, we come in here and we're going to do this, and they're going to have this book, Fanes of Barovia. Great lore drop. All right, so we're going to close it. So now we've got those two. So then we're going to come back over to our actors tab, and we're going to find this a book and letter is what we called it. And we're going to come in here. We're going to use the image of the book. So copy the URL. We'll come in here, paste it, Control V, right? There we have the book, prototype token, appearance, Control A, Control V, update that token, close, and then we are going to delete both of those out of there, right? And then let's just pop it back open. I'm just making sure yeah, see, here we go. 0, 0, oops, update, leave. There we go, they're empty. All right, so now we'll take that letter and that book and we'll drop them in there, update that pile. And then we're gonna take that pile and we're gonna put that pile right here, right? I'm gonna make the size just a bit smaller, using his hand really for reference. There we go. Now we can do some things to make this a little more challenging to see, right? We could come back in here to the macro wheel and we could go to the biological and see if we could put some blood on it. Doesn't seem to want to really take well, does it? Let's see. Ooh, that's too much. That's okay, because we can just come in here to the delete filters on the selected and it's good. So maybe we just put a little grunge on it, a little grunge overlay. There we go. Make it a little dirtier. There we go. That one's a little obvious, but that's okay. I don't mind if this one's obvious, right? And then we're going to also, in this item pile, we're also going to go ahead and add some weapons. I'm not going to change the image of the item pile because I want the book to be what they, the book is the important thing, but we're going to be kind and we're going to give them another dagger. We're going to give them a long sword. And we're going to give them a shield. This person is from Barovia. They wouldn't be out here with nothing. You know what? Let's even give them a short bow and 20 arrows. There we go. Perfect. All right. So remember, all their stuff got stolen. So now they're going to have 2 daggers, a long sword, a short bow, and a shield. So short bow, 2 daggers, long sword. Everybody can have a weapon, minimally, as they get ready to walk into Barovia. All right. That will absolutely, gonna get rid of these dire wolves. That will absolutely conclude the prep of those areas. And most of our game master side modules, so they're going to be more that we're going to use when we start putting players into the game and that sort of thing. So the next thing that we're going to have to do, guys, is going to be starting to get into the big stuff. So we're going to have Barovia and the Durst Manor, which is the death house. So I'm going to load both of these in right now. So we're going to go to Mauldin, scenes. And then what I'll do is I'll put a poll up on YouTube to see which one we do first. Let you guys tell me which one we're going to do first. So we go Benios, and then we will find map and landing page, gates. So there's Death House. Hey, look, Death House is free, guys. If you've got Benios, or if you've got Mauldin, you can pull this down for free. That's awesome. So we'll go ahead and grab the 4K version. I'm going to import it. I'm going to import all the entities. So that'll pull in. It'll take a second while it's doing its thing. Let's go and find the village of Barovia. Here we go. And we'll let the beautiful all finished. And then let's go ahead and pull the village in. Import it. All 115 entities. Excellent. And there's our map of Barovia. So that was a lot, right? So we went through all the modules from well, not all of the modules, but a couple of the modules that we installed previously. We looked at the settings of file picker. We looked at the settings for simple quest and for the GM screen, and then we talked about nuts and bolts. The dice tray, these should all be, the dice tray should be one everybody knows about, I'm sure. Image context and image hover, those are great utility. the select tool everywhere, macro wheel. These are all great modules that help as a game master speed up prep work and doing things and applying effects and all this sort of thing. It's really, really cool. We did the finishing touches over on the gates of Barovia, cleaning it up a little bit, making it look nicer and match the description, which is the most important part. And then of course we placed the dagger for our helpless player characters as they're going to be robbed blind by some Vistani. And then we flavored it up over on Dalvan's corpse with the flies and the audio and then the item pile and getting it ready to go. And so again, next stop is going to be over here. Like I said, I will put a poll up over in YouTube to see which one we do first, Death House or Barovia proper. Doesn't matter to me. And it'll be fun. It's going to be a good time. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, better ways of doing things, anecdotal stories, drop them down in the comments down below. I'm Greg. This is Tales from the Pythian. We will see you next time. Peace.